All right. Well, hey, what's up, everybody? We're here on the Pro-Forma Playbook, and I'm your host, Matt Cretzman. Super excited to deliver another episode to you guys here in LinkedIn land, which is where most of you guys are tuning in. And we're doing this because we've got a pitch competition coming up. And if you've seen any of our other videos, you know we're talking a lot of money on the line. We got 50 G's, $50,000 going out to the finalist of the champion of our pitch competition. And what a great blessing that, you know, Pro-Forma and the Eagle Venture team are offering to founders in trying to help accelerate their vision so they can go to market, solve real problems, and make our world a better place, which that's what it's all about, right? So I'm the founder of Stormbreaker Digital, full service B2B marketing firm, lead Storm AI to help you maximize LinkedIn, and then also the author of the LinkedIn Advantage, which is 194 pages of LinkedIn gold. If you're a LinkedIn nerd or feel like you should be, this book is for you. But without further ado, we're here with a special guest today, one of our new judges for the pitch competition, David Spear. David, my man, how you doing?
Very good. Great to see you. Great to be here, Matt. It's good to be seen.
Hey, good to be seen, right? You know,
right.
Exactly. Better be seen than not seen. You know what I'm saying? So
that's right.
Yeah, and you're joining us all the way from Atlanta, right?
I am from Hotlanta. Exactly.
Hotlanta. Yes. Is it still Hotlanta right now? It's November.
No. It's cooled off, so it's actually very pleasant.
There you go.
Actually, the entire month of October was phenomenal weather. Just absolutely beautiful, sunny, not a cloud in the sky almost the entire month, which is very, it doesn't happen very often. But it's very nice.
Yes.
Like you in the Dallas Fort Worth area in the summertime, it can get pretty warm.
A little bit. Yep. That's really bad when the AC goes out in the car. That's a bad one. So my favorite time of year, fall. It's nice and cool. We can wear a jacket. We got the holidays coming around the corner, and it's a good time of year. So I'd love to hear about your background. What's your involvement been like in the startup community? Who is David? Give us the download.
I will. Awesome. Well, thanks for asking. I appreciate it. So my background is made up of a couple of different segments, if you will, during my career. I would say the initial part of my career in business has really been in industry and consumer products. So I spent many years at the Coca-Cola company. I was very intentional when I went there to build a general manager background. So I did stints in a number of different parts of the company. So operations, sales, brand marketing, led a couple of brands, which was fun. Moved into strategy, and then really in the last couple of years, spent my time globally, traveling the world, working a lot with our international business units, as well as our large bottlers around the world. So had a great time building a lot of manager type capability. And then I did a bit of a pause and reflect later in my time at Coke, and said, what's missing on my resume? Did sort of one of those breaks. And I said, the big thing was technology. And I didn't have any technology roles and or experiences to speak of. And so I actually, made a decision to leave the company, even though I was on the fast track doing very well there, because I wanted to jump into technology. I knew it was going to blow up. I knew it was going to be a really big thing, but I needed to get some experience. So I kind of almost did a step back, if you will, right? You do a pause and take a step back and move into a whole new arena. And, you talk about getting out of your comfort zone. That was a jump into cold water. And it took me a little while to kind of get my sea legs, as they say. But once I did, I started to carve a niche in digital transformation, moved into consulting, worked with a couple of different really good firms, Capgemini being one of those, IBM being the other. Did a lot of work when I was at IBM with Apple. You wouldn't think those two companies would work together, but they actually did. We had a really nice partnership for several years. And I led a lot of engagements with big clients, Fortune 500 clients around the world, reimagining applications primarily for the business environment. So B2E, right? Enterprise applications. So how do employees and associates get more productive, do better decision making, find distilled insights right at their fingertips, because those applications can do a whole lot. And so we redesigned a lot of legacy apps and put together these really cool applications, and they were amazing. So a lot of fun doing that.
Wow.
And then I left IBM and started to move into data and analytics. Really started to understand the power of higher math, if you will, and what it can do when you have huge amounts of data, and then how do you crunch that into insights that actually have a meaningful impact to either top line, bottom line, or customer experience, those types of areas. And then you talk a little bit, you mentioned a little bit about startups. So the last 5 to 7 years, Matt, I have been very passionate about working with small companies in the Atlanta area. And so I've spent a fair amount of time almost as a side hustle, learning, observing, working with these small companies, entrepreneurs, and I've jumped in a couple of them to become board advisors. So taking on more of a senior advisement, senior counsel type role, and helping them, kind of guide and navigate through all of their obstacles in order to accelerate growth. And that's been a ton of fun. I love doing that. It's been almost a re-energizing type activity for me, because it's, I've worked for large companies most of my career, and now, I've gotten the chance to really dive into some of these very small companies, but really cool, and have learned so much. And so it's kind of opened my eyes to a lot of new things that are possible in the market.
Yeah, it's such a contradiction between, like early experience in large global companies and now like small early stage startup companies. I guess, like, what are the biggest differences in maybe culture or leadership?
A lot.
A lot, right? Like, what aren't the differences, right?
Yeah. You talk about culture, you talk about bureaucracy, red tape. Obviously, the bigger the company, the more of that exists, and so you almost have to be skilled in some ways how to navigate and how to move around some of those obstacles. And sometimes they're not obstacles. It's just the nature of the beast, if you will, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
And every company, every large company, I should say, has some of that within it. It's just a matter of, it is what it is. Yeah. Small companies typically don't have as much or at that same magnitude. Every company has some degree of it, but it's not like a large company. And so, the pace, the ability to turn on a dime, the agility factor is so much bigger within a small company, because a decision can be made immediately. You course correct, pivot very quickly, and you get to the the end zone a lot quicker than typically a larger company would. A larger company may take weeks, months, years to roll out a product, whereas a small company may take days or weeks or months, right? So that timeline is compressed so much, and by a huge factor, right? And so, culture-wise, your hair's on fire. People are moving very fast, making decisions. Some are right, some are wrong, but you know what? You fail fast and you move on, right?
Yeah. Exactly. Yep. Exactly. What are some of the, speaking of fail fast, I'm sure in your experience, you've got some interesting, some fun stories of failing fast. What are some of the biggest, I don't know, tell us a good story of a failure or something that you saw or that you learned in all the global and, places that you've been. What are some good business stories that you've learned throughout your career?
Well, there's a lot of them. I remember one. I'm not sure I would call this a fail fast story. It's just a story about how you come together as a team and show up every day to a client. So this was when I was consulting, and we were approached by our client with an RFP, so a request for proposal. And that's very typical when you get into these kind of big company environments and you're with big consulting firms. And so this was a very large opportunity. It was nine to 10 digits. I mean, it was a very big deal.
Yep.
And so we put together a team, developed the proposal, did a pretty good job of crossing the T's, dotting our I's. In my mind, and when you go through that process, there's sort of these phases, right? So you get the RFP, you respond to it. There's a Q&A, period for all of the firms that are actually vying for the business, and so you move past that. Then they kind of go to this down selection process, and so we got to the point where we were down selected into, I think there were 3 companies or maybe 4, right? And then you have the chance to go in and do your orals, do your basically your pitch, right? And so this is kind of the Shark Tank for big companies.
Yeah.
Right? And so we go in, we do the pitch, and then the company actually makes its decision, and we came in second. And of course, we were very disappointed. And I asked the question, I said, so what was the difference between the number 1 and the number 2, right? Between, obviously we were the number 2. And they said, well, it was really about teamwork and the individuals that showed up, and particularly at the very senior level. And so we did a really nice job, but one of the things that we didn't include in our pitch was very, very, very top senior executives, right?
Yep.
And that was a big miss on our part. Whereas the other team brought in their CEO, and he was in many of the meetings. Ours was not, and so it was a little bit of a painful learning experience, but I'll never forget that, though. It's how you show up, what are the team members you bring, and what does that teamwork look like? And it's very visible to the client, right? Because they see this.
Yes.
And so that was a hard lesson, but a very good lesson. Nonetheless.
Did you get a second crack at it in the future?
Of course not. Well, not for this particular client. No,
not for that client. Okay, but you landed a couple other ones.
for subsequent ones, yes, absolutely. I took those learnings and actually leveraged them positively in the next iteration of RFPs. yeah,
I bet. Yep, that was an expensive education. Noted.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, exactly. The stuff they don't teach you in school. That's called the School of Hard Knocks.
Yeah.
Well, what are some of the favorite startups and what kind of early stage companies intrigue you right now? What are you most enamored by or interested in?
Oh my gosh, there's so many of them, Matt. I mean, obviously AI is all over it's everywhere, right?
It's everywhere.
It's kind of blowing up. But I did run across a really cool AI platform that I've been playing around with. It's incredible. I'm very curious. I'm sort of a lifelong learner, and I've been playing around with a lot of different use cases and examples of how AI can be leveraged, either to drive more efficiency, productivity, higher quality output, which obviously you need to verify and confirm before you do anything with it. But I've actually had a lot of fun building my brain around AI, right? And so that's been a lot of fun. There's a whole number of startups around supply chain and leveraging higher math, obviously, and some AI in how really strong and interesting differentiated algorithms can change the way that people look at logistics and supply chains in the world. And so I've actually talked with a number of different companies in that space, and that's been really interesting. And then I think an area that's really on the cusp of blowing up is healthcare, and healthcare startups leveraging MedTech, almost AI purposes, and with some of the interesting drugs that have been put together lately. I think that offers a really unique combination of better for you type health opportunities, and in the ability to create almost a whole new way of life for an individual as they start to experience better ways to leverage either prescriptions and or other types of drugs that can help their life in a number of different ways, right? And in some cases, it's almost life transformational, right?
Yep.
And it's super interesting to kind of watch that med tech take off and be really positive in the lives of individuals. And so that's a really neat field and an area that I think is going to blow up.
Yeah, I agree with that. I've got a couple friends. Shout out to Pocket MD up in Canada, innovating and really, saving lives. I mean, there's a lot of antiquated processes and systems and lack of technological, innovation within healthcare itself. So, we're seeing some really cool, meaningful innovation happen to make our world a better place and give people a better experience and better life. So I'm all for that. I was thinking, I think your experience in both worlds, you have like a corporate perspective, and innovation could be extremely attractive and is for corporates to see what, hence their involvement in a lot of, startups and incubators to get their hands on, first movers on new tech. So I think your experience is going to be invaluable to the founders that come into this pitch competition. I'm sure your feedback is going to be great, powered by Pro-Forma's incredible platform. So I just wanted to say thank you for taking the time to do this interview and to volunteer your time to give these founders some feedback, albeit somewhat gentle. Don't be too harsh, you know what I'm saying? You got to have thick skin if you're a founder. You got to be used to taking them punches and saying no. You get those no's if you're, that's how you play the game. It is what it is.
That's right. Yeah. Hey, it's as I was telling that story about the hard knocks, right? I mean, you got to power through.
That's it. So if you need to meet with, Doug before the, Dave, pre-game, before you get on the field, and check your playbook, no pun intended with this podcast name, but reach out to him. I'm sure he'll be willing to give you a helping hand. But this was a pleasure. And thank you again for just taking the time. And I'm excited for this competition. If you, again, actually tell us one more thing, like what's relevant? What are you looking at in 2025? Is there somebody that maybe you want to reach out for anything specific that you're doing, or what's exciting in David's world next year?
There's lots of exciting things happening on. So as I mentioned, I'm talking with a number of different startups, and there's some really cool things that are happening. So again, I going back to the healthcare side with MedTech, I think that's going to be super exciting. And there's a couple of organizations that are doing some really neat things. I'm chatting with them, so that's going to be exciting. Yeah,
that's good. Well, we're going to follow your journey and post that stuff on LinkedIn so we can follow along.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you so much, Matt. This has been a lot of fun, and I can't wait for the pitch competition.
Absolutely. It's going to be a blast. So you again, guys, if you're looking for a platform to help you with investor readiness, financial modeling, valuation analysis, validate your assumptions, and even help with your pitch deck, reach out to Pro-Forma. They can give you all of those things in one platform, and it's going to be a fun time. Y'all, thank you for joining. Like, comment, and share this episode so other people can follow along and hear about all the cool things that we're doing. And David, it was a real pleasure. I'll see you next time.